Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. The last laugh delivers stories that leave you speechless. If you're here for it, hit subscribe and let's go. My bank manager handed me a flash drive, transfer out of state tonight. The files I saw destroyed everything. My bank manager handed me a flash drive, don't plug this in here. Transfer out of state tonight. I stared at her, she grabbed my arm, please. They're watching you now. When I opened the files. My name is Sarah Chen, and I'm 29 years old. Until 3 days ago, I was a senior financial analyst at Riverside Credit Union in Portland, Oregon. I had what most people would call a normal life, a studio apartment downtown, a rescue cat named Pepper, and a job processing commercial loan applications. Nothing exciting, nothing dangerous. That Tuesday started like any other. I arrived at the bank at 7:45 a.m. with my usual vanilla latte, nodded to security, and took the elevator to the third floor where the commercial lending department occupied a maze of beige cubicles. I had 16 loan applications to review that day, all routine business expansions and equipment financing. Before we go further, make sure you subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. My manager, Patricia Morrison, was a 52-year-old woman who'd worked at Riverside for 23 years. She wore the same style of navy blazer every day, kept a photo of her golden retriever on her desk, and always remembered everyone's birthday. She was predictable, professional, and kind. That's why what happened at 10:47 a.m. made absolutely no sense. I was reviewing a restaurant expansion loan when Patricia appeared beside my cubicle. Not unusual, she checked in with everyone regularly. But something was different. Her face was pale, and she clutched a small black flash drive in her hand. "Sarah, can you come to my office for a moment?" Her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. I followed her down the hall to her corner office. She closed the door behind us, something she rarely did. Then she pulled the blinds. "Patricia, what's?" She pressed the flash drive into my palm and closed my fingers around it. "Don't plug this in here. Don't plug it in anywhere at this bank. Go home tonight and look at it on your personal laptop." I stared at the small device in my hand. "I don't understand. What is this?" "You need to transfer out of state tonight." Her voice dropped to barely a whisper. "Pack a bag. Get in your car. Drive to your brother's place in Seattle." "What? I can't just leave. I have work tomorrow, and I'm scheduled to present the Mercer file on Thursday." She grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in with surprising strength. "Please. They're watching you now." My heart started pounding. "Who's watching me?" "Patricia, you're scaring me. The less you know right now, the safer you are. But once you see what's on that drive." She glanced toward her door. "You processed the Cascade Holdings wire transfers last week, didn't you?" I nodded slowly. Cascade Holdings had been a straightforward commercial client transferring funds between accounts. 3 transfers totaling $2.4 million over 5 days. Standard business operations. Those transfers weren't what they appeared to be. And you flagged something in your review notes. Something someone noticed. Ice ran down my spine. "I just noted the transfer timing seemed irregular. It's standard procedure to document, I know. You did everything right. That's the problem." Patricia moved to her window, peering down at the parking lot 3 floors below. "Sarah, I need you to trust me. Go back to your desk. Act normal. At lunch, leave the building and don't come back. Tell everyone you're feeling sick." Patricia, your father was a good man. He would want you safe." That stopped me cold. My father had died 8 years ago in a car accident. Why would she bring him up now? Patricia must have seen the confusion on my face. "Just look at the files tonight. Everything will make sense. Now go back to your desk before someone notices we've been in here too long." I returned to my cubicle in a daze, the flash drive burning in my pocket. I tried to focus on the loan application in front of me, but the words blurred together. What transfers had I flagged? I pulled up the Cascade Holdings file on my computer. 3 wire transfers. The first on Monday for $800,000, the second on Wednesday for $900,000. It was standard compliance language. Nothing alarming. So why was Patricia acting like I'd uncovered a conspiracy? At 11:30, I gathered my purse and coat. I told my cubicle neighbor, Marcus, that I was feeling nauseous and going home early. He barely looked up from his screen. As I walked toward the elevator, I felt eyes on me. I glanced back and saw a man in a dark suit standing near the office entrance. I didn't recognize him. He wasn't wearing a visitor badge. The elevator took forever. When the doors finally opened, I stepped inside and jabbed the lobby button repeatedly. As the doors closed, I saw the man in the dark suit walking quickly toward the elevators. My hands shook as I crossed the marble lobby. I forced myself to walk normally, not to run. Outside, the October air was crisp and cold. I speed-walked to my Honda Civic in the parking garage, constantly checking over my shoulder. No one followed me. At least, no one I could see. I drove home on autopilot, my mind racing. This had to be a misunderstanding. Patricia was probably overreacting. Maybe there was fraud in the Cascade account, but that didn't mean I was in danger. The bank had entire departments for handling fraud. Security protocols. Insurance. But Patricia's face kept flashing in my mind. The fear in her eyes had been real. Back in my apartment, I fed Pepper and stared at the flash drive on my kitchen counter. For 20 minutes, I just looked at it, as if it might explode. Finally, I grabbed my personal laptop and sat on my couch. My hands trembled as I plugged in the drive. The drive contained a single folder labeled "Sarah Must See." Inside were dozens of files, bank records, wire transfer receipts, encrypted emails, and a video file labeled "Watch First." I clicked the video. Patricia's face filled the screen. She was recording this in her car, the background showing the parking garage at work. "Sarah, if you're watching this, you've made it home safely. I pray you stay safe." She took a shaky breath. "What I'm about to tell you will sound insane, but every word is true. Riverside Credit Union has been infiltrated by a money laundering operation connected to the Volkov crime syndicate. For the past 2 years, they've been moving millions through our commercial accounts." My mouth went dry. "The Cascade Holdings account you processed is one of dozens. Senator Thomas Brennan is the political connection making this possible. He's just been blocking federal investigations and tipping off the operation whenever enforcement gets close. The man who owns the dry cleaning chain? The restaurant group? The medical supply company? All fronts." Patricia leaned closer to the camera. "You flagged the Cascade transfers. A compliance alert went to the wrong person, someone inside the operation. They know you noticed the pattern. Sarah, these people have killed to protect this network." I hit pause. My entire body was shaking. This couldn't be real. Senator Brennan was a respected politician, chair of the Banking Oversight Committee. Riverside was a community credit union. This was Portland, not some crime movie. But Patricia's face on that screen was dead serious. I pressed play. "Your father, Daniel Chen, was an undercover FBI agent. He spent 3 years infiltrating a different branch of the same organization in San Francisco. He died because someone inside the bureau leaked his identity." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "I knew your father, Sarah. We worked together. I'm not just your manager, I'm the FBI agent who took over his investigation after he died." The laptop nearly slid off my knees. "Everything in this drive is evidence I've been gathering for 8 years. Account records, wire transfers, communications. But 2 days ago, I learned my cover is compromised. They're going to move against me, probably this week. I've already contacted my handler. Federal agents are en route, but they won't arrive until Thursday." Patricia wiped her eyes. "I need you to take this evidence and drive to Seattle tonight. Your brother David is former military police, he can keep you safe. A federal agent named Marcus Reeves will contact you within 48 hours. Give him this drive. Your testimony about the Cascade transfers, combined with this evidence, will bring down the entire network." She leaned even closer. "Sarah, you need to leave tonight. Don't pack much. Don't tell anyone where you're going. Use cash, not cards. They have access to financial tracking. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. Your father died protecting people from these criminals. Now I'm asking you to help finish what he started." The video ended. I sat frozen on my couch for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. This was insane. Absolutely insane. Except, my father's death had never made sense. The police said he lost control of his car on a clear day, on a road he drove every day. No mechanical failure, no medical event. Just an accident. And Patricia knew details about my father I'd never shared at work. His first name was Daniel. He had lived in San Francisco. Those weren't things I talked about because his death was still painful. I opened the other files on the drive. Bank records showing millions flowing through Cascade Holdings and 24 other accounts. Wire transfer patterns that made no business sense, money moving in circles, being split and recombined, sent overseas and back. Shell companies nested inside shell companies. Then I found the file labeled Daniel Chen, classified. My father's FBI personnel file. Photos of him I'd never seen, younger, serious, wearing a suit instead of the casual clothes I remembered. Reports detailing his undercover work. And finally, a heavily redacted investigation report into his death, with a single conclusion visible: agents cover likely compromised. Recommend full internal investigation. They'd killed him. These people had killed my father. My phone rang, making me jump so hard I nearly dropped the laptop. Unknown number. I stared at it, Patricia's warnings echoing in my head. But it could be David, my brother. Or it could be the federal agent Patricia mentioned. I answered. "Hello?" Heavy breathing. Then a male voice, calm and cold. "Miss Chen. You have something that belongs to us." I hung up immediately and dropped the phone like it was on fire. They knew. They knew I had the drive. I ran to my bedroom and grabbed my old camping backpack. Clothes, toiletries, chargers, I threw things in without thinking. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The flash drive went into the hidden pocket inside the backpack's frame. Pepper meowed from the doorway, sensing my panic. "I'm sorry, baby," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I couldn't take her. My neighbor Mrs. Patterson had a key, she could feed Pepper until I figured this out. I was heading for the door when I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Heavy footsteps. More than one person. I froze. A knock at the door. "Ms. Chen? Building maintenance. We have a report of a water leak from your unit." I hadn't called maintenance. And building maintenance didn't travel in pairs. "Just a minute." I called out, trying to keep my voice steady. I ran to my bedroom window. I was on the 3rd floor, but there was a fire escape. I grabbed my backpack, climbed out the window onto the metal platform, and started descending as quietly as I could. Behind me, I heard my apartment door crash open. I didn't look back. I jumped the last 6 feet to the alley below, landing hard enough to feel it in my knees. My car was parked on the street 2 blocks away. I ran, backpack bouncing, lungs burning. Behind me, shouts. Someone had seen me from my window. I reached my car, fumbled with the keys, and threw myself into the driver's seat. The engine started on the 2nd try. I pulled into traffic without checking my mirrors, earning angry honks from other drivers. In my rearview mirror, I saw 2 men in dark suits burst out of my building's front entrance. I drove. North toward the interstate. Toward Seattle. Toward my brother. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but what if it was the federal agent? "Hello? Sarah Chen?" A different voice this time. Professional, crisp. "This is Agent Marcus Reeves, FBI. Patricia Morrison gave you something today. I need you to listen to me very carefully." "How do I know you're really FBI?" My voice cracked. "Your father was Special Agent Daniel Chen, badge number 8847. He died on August 14, 2017. He was investigating the Volkov organization's money laundering operations. You just escaped from your apartment at 2247 Morrison Street. Am I getting warmer?" I let out a sob of relief. "They came to my apartment. 2 men. They broke down my door." "I know. We've had surveillance on you since Patricia's cover was blown yesterday. Those men work for Viktor Kozlov, the syndicate's Portland enforcer." "Sarah, where are you right now?" "Yes. Driving north on I-5. I was going to my brother's in Seattle." "No. That's the first place they'll look. I need you to take exit 36 and drive to the state police station in Wilsonville. Do not stop anywhere else. Do you understand?" "Yes. Exit 36. State police." "Sarah, you have the flash drive?" "Yes." "Good. That evidence is crucial. Patricia Morrison was found in her car 2 hours ago. She's dead." The world tilted. I nearly drove off the road. "Sarah? Are you still there?" She's dead." I could barely form the words. Gunshot to the head, made to look like suicide. But Patricia was one of the best agents I've ever worked with. She wouldn't leave this investigation unfinished. That's why she gave you the drive. Carrying 8 years of evidence that will dismantle a network responsible for over $300 million in laundered funds and at least 12 murders. Including your father's. Tears blurred my vision. I wiped them away furiously. Who killed him? Who killed my dad? Senator Brennan gave the order. Viktor Kozlov carried it out. And we're going to prove it, with your help. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe. Exit 36 is coming up. Take it. I saw the exit sign and moved into the right lane. "Agent Reeves, how did they find me so fast?" "At my apartment?" There was a pause. "They have someone inside the bank who monitors flagged transactions. The moment you noted the irregular pattern on Cascade Holdings, an alert went to Kozlov's operation. Patricia tried to extract you before they could act. She died protecting me. She died protecting the investigation. Don't let it be for nothing. Take this exit now." I took the exit, following signs toward Wilsonville. The state police station appeared after 3 miles, a low brick building with patrol cars parked in front. I'd never been so relieved to see police in my life. "I'm pulling in now." "Good. Park near the front entrance. Stay in your car with the doors locked until you see a man in a gray suit. That's Special Agent Torres. He'll escort you inside." I parked and waited, engine running, hands gripping the steering wheel. Every car that passed made my heart race. A man in a gray suit emerged from the station entrance. He held up an FBI badge clearly visible even from my car. "I see him. That's Torres. You can go." I grabbed my backpack, locked the car, and ran to the entrance. Agent Torres was in his 40s with kind eyes. "Ms. Chen. You're safe now. Come inside." The police station was a flurry of activity. Officers in uniform, detectives, and several people in FBI windbreakers. Torres led me to a small conference room where a woman in her 50s was waiting. "Sarah, this is Special Agent Linda Wu. She'll be coordinating your protection." Agent Wu shook my hand firmly. "You've been through hell today. But you did everything right. Your father would be proud." Hearing someone else say that broke something inside me. I sank into a chair and finally let myself cry. Agent Wu handed me tissues and waited patiently. When I could breathe again, I pulled the flash drive from my backpack's hidden pocket. "Patricia said this has everything." Agent Wu took it carefully, like it was made of glass. "This is 8 years of work. Account records, communications, transactions. We've been building the case against the Volkov organization for a decade. But we never had evidence connecting Senator Brennan to the operation. Until now." She plugged the drive into a laptop and began scrolling through files. Her expression grew more intense with each document. "This is incredible. Patricia documented every transaction, every meeting. She even got photos of Brennan meeting with Kozlov." Agent Wu looked up at me. "Sarah, the Cascade Holdings transfers you flagged? That was the last piece. Brennan personally authorized those transfers to pay for a shipment of weapons being smuggled into the country. Patricia had been waiting for proof of Brennan's direct involvement in criminal activity. Your compliance note triggered the investigation's final phase. And got Patricia killed," I whispered. "Patricia knew the risks. She's been a target for months. Yesterday, someone inside the operation learned her real identity. She had maybe 48 hours before they moved against her. She chose to spend those hours getting you to safety and transferring the evidence." Agent Wu closed the laptop. "She didn't die for nothing." Agent Reeves entered the conference room. In person, he was younger than I expected, maybe late 30s, with intense dark eyes. "We've got movement. Kozlov's people are searching for Sarah. They've been to her brother's house in Seattle." My blood ran cold. "Is David okay?" "He's fine. Seattle PD is with him now. But they're casting a wide net to find you. We need to move Sarah to a federal safe house tonight." Before anyone could respond, another agent burst into the room. "We've got a problem. Senator Brennan just called an emergency press conference. He's claiming the FBI is conducting an illegal investigation and harassing his constituents." Agent Wu cursed under her breath. "He knows we're closing in. He's trying to get ahead of the story." "Can he stop the investigation?" I asked. "Not anymore." Agent Reeves smiled grimly. "Because you unknowingly triggered the investigation when you flagged those transfers. That created a legal compliance report that the bank is required to file with the Treasury Department. Once that happened, the investigation became official. Even a senator can't make it disappear." Agent Wu stood. "Sarah, we need you to testify before a grand jury. Your testimony about processing those Cascade transfers, combined with the evidence on this drive, will give us enough to arrest Brennan and Kozlov. But testimony means going public. These people will know who you are." "They already know who I am," I said quietly. "They broke into my apartment. They killed Patricia. And they killed my father." I met her eyes. "What do I have to do?" Over the next 6 hours, I gave a detailed statement about the Cascade Holdings transfers, everything Patricia had told me, and how I'd escaped from my apartment. Agents photographed my injuries from jumping off the fire escape. They documented everything. At midnight, Agent Torres drove me to a safe house in Salem, a nondescript ranch house in a quiet suburb. 2 FBI agents were already stationed inside. One was a woman named Chen, no relation, but she found it funny. "Get some rest," Agent Torres said. "Tomorrow's going to be a long day." But I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Patricia's face, hearing her voice on that video. She'd spent 8 years undercover, living a double life, all to finish the investigation my father had started. I pulled out my phone and searched for news about Senator Brennan's press conference. He stood behind a podium, flanked by lawyers, claiming the FBI was conducting a political witch hunt. He called the investigation baseless harassment and demanded the immediate dismissal of the case. He looked so confident, so untouchable. But I had his transactions. I had his communications with Kozlov. I had 8 years of evidence. The next morning, Agent Wu arrived with coffee and breakfast. "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay." It wasn't entirely true, but I was functional. "Good. Because we're moving faster than expected. Based on the evidence Patricia gathered, federal prosecutors obtained warrants last night. We're executing raids across Portland this morning, Riverside Credit Union, Cascade Holdings, and 6 other front companies. We're also bringing in Viktor Kozlov." My heart jumped. "You're arresting them today?" "Thanks to you. The grand jury convenes at 2 p.m. We need you to testify about those transfers and what Patricia told you. Your testimony establishes the chain of evidence." At 1:30 p.m., Agent Torres drove me to the federal courthouse in downtown Portland. I wore a borrowed suit that didn't quite fit. News vans lined the street. Word had leaked about the raids. Inside, prosecutors briefed me on what to expect. The grand jury wasn't like a trial. No defense attorneys cross-examining me. Just prosecutors presenting evidence and asking questions. "You're not on trial," the lead prosecutor assured me. "You're a witness who helped uncover criminal activity. Just tell the truth about what you saw and what Patricia told you." At 2 p.m., I walked into the grand jury room. 23 people sat in tiered rows, looking at me with curiosity. The prosecutor asked me to state my name and occupation. "My name is Sarah Chen. I'm a senior financial analyst at Riverside Credit Union." For the next 90 minutes, I described processing the Cascade Holdings transfers, noting the irregular patterns, receiving the flash drive from Patricia, and everything that had happened since. I described my father's death, learning he'd been an FBI agent, and Patricia's revelation about Senator Brennan. The grand jurors asked surprisingly few questions. Mostly they just listened, occasionally taking notes. When I finished, the prosecutor said, "Thank you, Miss Chen. You've been extraordinarily brave. Your testimony today will help us bring dangerous criminals to justice." I was led out of the room and back to a private waiting area. Agent Wu was there, watching something on her phone. When she saw me, she smiled. "You did great. And you need to see this." She turned her phone toward me. A news broadcast showed federal agents leading Viktor Kozlov out of a warehouse in handcuffs. The caption read, "FBI raids target alleged money laundering network. Kozlov's in custody. So are 8 of his associates. We seized $4.2 million in cash, weapons, and enough documentation to keep prosecutors busy for years." Agent Wu paused. "And an hour ago, federal marshals arrested Senator Thomas Brennan at his home." I stared at the screen as they showed footage of Brennan being walked out in handcuffs, trying to hide his face from cameras. The man who'd looked so confident at his press conference now looked terrified. "You did this," Agent Wu said softly. "You and Patricia. Without that flash drive in your testimony, we never could have moved this fast." Tears ran down my face. "My dad would have wanted this. He would have been so proud of you." Over the next week, I stayed at the safe house while the investigation exploded across the news. Senator Brennan was charged with money laundering, racketeering, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy to commit murder. Prosecutors alleged he ordered the deaths of at least 4 people who threatened to expose the operation, including my father. Kozlov faced even more charges, including murder, attempted murder, and running a criminal enterprise. 8 other arrests followed as the FBI rolled up the network. Riverside Credit Union's board fired the executives who'd been complicit. Federal regulators seized control of the bank's operations pending a full investigation. And Patricia Morrison was honored as a fallen hero. The FBI held a memorial service. Hundreds of agents attended. Her photo, not the bank manager I knew, but Special Agent Patricia Morrison in her FBI uniform, was displayed at the front of the room. Agent Wu gave me permission to attend, with full security escort. I sat in the back and cried through the entire service. Afterward, an older agent approached me. He had kind eyes and gray hair. "Sarah Chen?" "Yes. Yes. I'm Deputy Director James Harrison. I worked with your father." He handed me a small box. "Daniel asked me to give this to you if anything ever happened to him. I've been holding it for 8 years, waiting for the right time." My hand shook as I opened the box. Inside was my father's FBI badge and a letter addressed to me. I couldn't read it there, not in front of everyone. But that night, back at the safe house, I opened the letter. "Sarah, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it home. I'm sorry. I know how much that will hurt you, and I hate that I can't be there to help you through the pain. I became an FBI agent because I believe some fights are worth the risk. The people I investigate destroy lives, they profit from suffering, they corrupt institutions, and they think they're untouchable. Someone has to stand against them. You're so much stronger than you know. You're smart, you're brave, and you have a good heart. Whatever path you choose in life, trust yourself. Trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. And don't be afraid to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. I love you more than anything in this world. I'm sorry I won't be there to see the amazing person you'll become. But I know you're going to do great things. Love always, Dad." I held that letter and cried harder than I had since the day he died. But this time, the tears weren't just grief. They were also pride. My father had been a hero. And maybe, in some small way, I'd helped finish what he started. 2 weeks after the arrests, Agent Wu drove me back to my apartment. It had been cleaned and repaired after Kozlov's men had broken in. Mrs. Patterson had been feeding Pepper, who meowed indignantly when I finally came home. "The trial won't be for months," Agent Wu explained. "But you'll need to testify again. Prosecutors are confident they have enough evidence to convict both Brennan and Kozlov." "What about me? Can I go back to my life?" Most of the network is dismantled. The immediate danger has passed. But Sarah. She hesitated. Your name is going to be public. You're going to be called a whistleblower, a hero. Some people will praise you. Others will criticize you. It won't be easy. I thought about Patricia, who'd lived a double life for 8 years. About my father, who died protecting people from criminals. I can handle it. 3 months later, I sat in a federal courtroom and testified at Senator Brennan's trial. His lawyers tried to discredit me, but the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 6 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Brennan was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison. Kozlov's trial followed 2 weeks later. He was convicted of racketeering, money laundering, and 3 counts of murder, including ordering the deaths of my father and Patricia Morrison. The judge sentenced him to life without parole. 6 months after that terrible Tuesday, I returned to work. Not at Riverside. The credit union never recovered from the scandal and was absorbed by a larger bank. Instead, I took a job with the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Agent Wu helped me apply. You have a gift for seeing patterns, she told me. And you understand that numbers on a screen represent real crimes against real people. We need analysts like you. On my first day, Deputy Director Harrison stopped by my desk. Your father would be proud. And Patricia would be thrilled. I hope so. Sarah, what you did, trusting Patricia when she warned you, protecting that evidence, testifying even when it was dangerous, you saved lives. The weapons Brennan was smuggling into the country were meant for a domestic terror attack. By exposing the operation when you did, you prevented something catastrophic. I hadn't known that. The full scope of what the investigation had prevented was still being uncovered. You unknowingly triggered an investigation that's led to 47 arrests across 6 states, Harrison continued. Your evidence exposed corruption at the highest levels of government. Without you, we couldn't have prosecuted any of them. I touched the badge on my desk, my own FBI badge now. I was just doing the right thing. That's exactly what your father would have said. That evening, I visited the cemetery where both my father and Patricia were buried. I placed flowers on both graves. We got them, I said quietly. Brennan, Kozlov, all of them. The network is gone. The wind rustled through the trees. For the first time since my father's death, I felt at peace. I'd learned that danger doesn't announce itself. It hides in normal moments, in routine transactions, in everyday conversations, in people you trust. But I'd also learned that ordinary people can make extraordinary differences when they choose to act. My father had taught me to trust my instincts. Patricia had taught me to be brave even when I was terrified. Together, they'd shown me that standing up for what's right is always worth the risk. If this story moved you, subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm Sarah Chen. I'm 29 years old. I'm an FBI financial analyst. And I helped bring down a criminal network that had operated with impunity for years. Because sometimes, the smallest action, noticing an irregular pattern, flagging a suspicious transaction, trusting someone who warns you, can change everything. Trust your instincts. They might save your life. They might save many lives. And when someone risks everything to warn you about danger, listen to them.